Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that feels deeply personal but is actually incredibly common, that tough patch that so many people hit right around their 40s. But here's a thought. What if it isn't a crisis at all? What if it's actually a test? And wow, this quote just says it all, doesn't it? It captures a reality that's just shocking for so many. The 40s, a time that's supposed to be about stability and hitting your stride, can suddenly bring on this wave of suffering, physically, financially, or in our relationships. You know, there's even a term for this, Mahen Hali. It points directly to this period of hardship. And in this explainer, we're going to look at a really fascinating idea that completely reframes this suffering, not as some kind of personal failure, but as a predictable, structured, and ultimately purposeful evaluation. Okay, let's get into it. To really get a handle on what's going on in your 40s, we have to rewind a bit and look at the decades that lead up to it. This perspective sees life as a journey through different seasons, and each one has its own job to do. So think of your life unfolding in these distinct stages. Our 20s are kind of like the training period, you know? We're learning the ropes and we've got support. Then the 30s are all about building our own foundation, gathering our tools. But the 40s, that's when things shift. That's when the great test shows up, and it's an evaluation of everything we've built. And whatever happens after 50, well, that's pretty much the results of how we did on that test. Let's break that down a little more. Your 20s really are like having training heels on. You're still plugged into these support systems that kind of help you fix your mistakes. But then in your 30s, you're set free. You're out there on your own. And nature often gives you a little boost. The right people show up, good opportunities land in your lap, and you start gathering all the social and material resources you're going to need for what comes next. All right, so you've put in 20 years of prep work, you step into your 40s feeling pretty good, pretty established. And then, bam, it feels like the rug gets pulled out from under you. So why? What's going on? This, right here, is the absolute key. That tailwind you had pushing you along in your 30s, it suddenly dies down. And here's the kicker. It's not just a string of bad luck. It's meant to happen. It's a totally natural shift that signals the beginning of something really important. So this isn't some random crisis, it's a structured exam. Life is basically turning to you and asking, okay, you were given all this stuff. People, money, knowledge. What did you do with it? What's the quality of your character, really? How well can you actually manage everything you've gathered? And believe me, there's a huge purpose behind all this pain. The results of this test are what decide the kind of life you're going to lead from 50 on. It's the gateway to your future, and it's assessing if you're actually ready for real influence and responsibility. Okay, so if it's a test, the obvious next question is, how in the world do you pass it? Well, it turns out the answer has everything to do with who you are on the inside. What's so interesting is that the difficulty of your test seems to be a direct mirror of your inner nature. If you become rigid or defensive or kind of prickly, the challenges that come your way are going to feel just as harsh. But if you've cultivated a more soft, flexible, and gentle nature, the test shows up in a much, much gentler way. So what this is really getting at is that true strength isn't about being forceful and tough. It's actually the opposite. When you're truly skilled and competent, you become calm, open, and flexible. It's insecurity and a lack of real skill that makes us put up walls and get all defensive. And your reaction to the test? That matters too. If you complain, it seems to just bring on an even harder test. But if you can meet it with a sense of gratitude and just put in the effort, well, that's how you get through it. Now, this brings us to what might be the single most powerful idea in this entire explainer, a way to heal from the hardships this test can bring, whether it's an illness, a financial hit, or just about anything else. The strategy here is a total game changer. Instead of fighting the problem head on, you change your internal environment so completely that the problem just can't survive there anymore. You basically starve it of all the negative energy it needs to grow. And this lays out such a clear path to healing. It's not about just gritting your teeth and enduring the suffering. It's about actively, intentionally cultivating joy. Just like the steps show, you find something, anything that makes you feel genuinely good, and you just immerse yourself in it every single day. Over time, all that space inside you that was filled with worry and sickness, it gets filled up with this positive energy, and there's just no room left for the illness to stick around. And this has a name. It's called Yung Yak, or spiritual medicine, and it's not a pill you take. It's a state of being you create. It could be music, learning something new, being in nature, helping others, literally anything that lifts your spirit and fills you up with this powerful, healing joy. So, after all of this, what's the big takeaway? What should you walk away remembering? The suffering of your 40s isn't a curse, it's a curriculum, it's a test. And you absolutely have the power not only to pass it, but to heal yourself in the process. So, in the end, this all comes back to you. The real key to navigating this critical decade, and to truly thriving in all the decades that come after, is to find, to embrace, and to constantly engage with your own unique spiritual medicine. So, the question I'll leave you with is this: what is it that brings you so much joy that it leaves no room for anything else?